Okay, so I'm just going to go over some topics we discussed in our meetups today. One of the topics was about worksheet number 2. And right over here, we have a rectangular prism, and we're going to see if we can find the surface area. Whoops. Yeah, we're trying to find the surface area of the prism before, like up there. Now, when you come across prisms that have a certain shape attached to it, like triangular, cube, you need to keep in mind the the area formulas we learned from week 2. So we've learned about the area of the square, which is the length of one of the sides squared, area of a rectangle. That's going to be length times width, and area of a triangle. That's going to be 1/2 base times heights. These are the 3 types of area formulas we'll be using to find surface area. Now, when we're trying to find surface area, the basic formula that we're going to solve is lateral area plus 2 times the base area. Okay, and there was a question about, well, how do I know which one is the base? Well, there's really okay, so when it comes to finding out which one is the base, there's no real okay, actually, if you look at this prism, right? We're trying to pick out the basic shape that sticks to us. So for example, I can either choose this rectangle that I'm highlighting as my base, or I can choose this green rectangle as my base. Whatever I choose to use, they could, it'll work. I mean, whatever you choose to use, it'll work either anyway, just as long as you're consistent throughout the whole problem. Let's try to use this orange rectangle that I just highlighted. Okay, so let's use this orange one that I just highlighted right over here. Let's go back to this. And first we're going to start off with finding our lateral area. So when we're talking about lateral area, we're talking about the perimeter of your shape. So the perimeter of the base times the height. Now this height, okay, just think of it as the third number in your figure you didn't use. Okay, so the third number, it looks like that I didn't highlight is at 5. I'm going to use that one. If we were using the green one, the third number would be the 2, but let's just use it. But for this case, it's going to be 5. Okay, so before we do anything, we need to find the perimeter. Now, perimeter, this is when we're calculating the sum of all the sides of this rectangle. So let me just redraw this rectangle to separate it. So this is the rectangle I'm looking at, and we have 8 inches here. We have 2 inches on the side. Now, this is 2 inches. So the thing with the rectangle, the opposite sides are equal to each other. So if this long side is 8 inches, the opposite long side will also be 8 inches. If this is 2 inches, the opposite side will also be 2 inches. Okay? So for that perimeter, I just need to add up all of those lengths. So if I add all of them up, this will be 16 plus 4, that will be 20. 20 inches for my perimeter. Now, to calculate the lateral area, I need to do 20 inches times, and the fifth number I didn't use was at 5 inches. So 20 times 5, that's going to be 100 inches squared. So we got the lateral area. Boom. Boom, it's done. Okay, so now we need to find that area of the base. We need to find what that B is. Remember, that's the area of the base. So I'm still working with the same rectangle again, but instead of finding the perimeter or adding up all the sides, I'm going to use one of my area formulas. Now, just looking at this, it's a rectangle, so I'm going to use this formula right over here, the area of a rectangle. So the area of the same base right over here is going to be length times width. Okay, if they're next to each other, we're multiplying them. So the length is 8 times 2. 8 times 2, that is 16 inches squared. Okay, so now I have what B is equal to, or the area of the base. It's going to be 16, and we have the 100 for the lateral area. Now all that's left to do is to pull everything together into my surface area formula. So let me just write it down here so I have more space. And I'm just going to take all the values I found and I'm going to replace everything. So for lateral area, I'm going to write 100. And now for the B right over here, the area of the base, I'm going to write 2 times 16. Okay, so I'm doing 100 plus 2 times 16. Remember, we do multiplication first. We're not going to add first. We're multiplying first. So this will give me 32 plus 100. And when I put them together, it's going to be 132 inches squared. Right? So this is how I'm going to be using the surface area formula to find the surface area of rectangular prisms.